Uncle Robin, we're in the background. There's a picture of your mother and my grandmother, also known as Vera.
Right.
And I just wanted to ask you about it real quick. You started this one quite a while back.
Yes, it was in the it's either late 60s or early 70s, I believe. The date is still somewhere on it. I was doing a series of sketches from old family photographs, and I thought it was interesting if you shadowed in parts of it with the graphite, you were still with the black and white, and that stiff posed form that they were done because these people were told, don't move, stand very still, try to get the sun on you just so. And so nobody moved, and you had this very stiff looking sort of thing. Well, if you would then drew that and went on to color the drawing with your shading, the drawing itself, even though you could look at it and realize that it was a drawing, it still told you it was a photograph.
Mm-hmm.
Through the composition, if nothing else. And then I thought, well, I didn't have necessarily very much access to sepias in pencil, but
10cc, no?
I started trying with watercolor and mixing my own brown, black mixture to get these various shades that had the feeling of an old photograph. And I was curious to see how much all of that forced you to think photograph and past times. And I had done a small triptych of my mom in oil. Let me know if you're running out.
No, that's good. And Jane has that one right now.
Right.
Is that right?
Right, she does. Now that I didn't worry about even the detail. I kept it purposely brushy and impressionistic.
Mm-hmm.
But the color still united it like black and white in another time.
And then this one, I noticed the years on it say 1969 to 2009. So you've recently changed it a little bit, or?
Yes, I had what would have been a fairly large print that was taken of my mother and me out in the side yard at our house. And the sun was extremely bright and strong. And my mother had the same problem that I do, knitting one's brows to kind of shadow the eyes and make it. And apparently she was told as a child, Vera, you look like a mad bull. And she used to tell me the same thing. But she always had that very scowling, shaded look. So I was interested in capturing that. And and she was very tan. But I originally did this a fairly large format. Must have been about 4 by 5 feet. Large canvas. This head was in the upper left. And then this baby who was on the blanket that she was kneeling on, the blanket, not the baby, was sitting up and was me. And it's a baby, was a baby, was a baby, and I didn't particularly feel like dealing with that. So early on I decided I was going to cut out that corner, and there might be some other small area I would use, but I never used anything else. And I loosened up this tension on the back of the canvas, and eventually I had a big studio in this big house I had in Phoebus. Things got moved around. And this hadn't been touched in several years.
Mm-hmm.
And it got put in the basement. I saw my brother come up out of the basement stairs with this huge limp canvas. And immediately I realized what it was. And he looked at me so puzzled. By this time I just stopped talking. And he said, what is this? He said, I mean, I know who it is. There's no way I could not know. I just don't know how it came to be like this. And so I explained to him that I really would like to go ahead and just finish the smaller portrait area. But I just didn't know when that was going to be. So he said, well, I would like to have it. And I said, well, you're welcome to have it because you've just saved it from what it was going through. But I let it get thoroughly dried out, and I got my brother to cut it from the canvas, and then we remounted it on another stretcher. And eventually I got to it and started painting. And I had had other pieces which I had experienced problems of not knowing whether the original was in the acrylic or in oil. And the problem with that is if you don't have the original to work from, and you start working over an image that you want to maintain and keep, you have the image begins to disappear because the very fact you're putting color over it. So I decided, and I had tried in the past, to use a good quality oil drawing pencil, oil-based, and you can do a fairly interesting shadow graded sort of effect, though it does play up the green of the canvas, etc. And so, but I tried that and experimented with then varnishing over it to see if.
And this is more recently?
Yes. So when I started on this, there was some light and dark in the background, the white background, which I didn't particularly care for. And what I was really after was this stark white image coming from that. The sun was not letting anything come through. And the wind was blowing her hair. And so I started with the color pencil doing some shadow effect, and then so I began to work on correcting those things that should have been done, of course without an image. And you can always make changes in anything. You don't have to, you're not bound by the image you see in your eye. You can make changes.
Sure.
So I began doing that with this, but I had to maintain how dark the face was in the original shadow there. And I wanted it to show that darkness because of the sun, but not to look frightening. Because she was my mother, and it was not a frightening image to me. My brother-in-law walked in, however, at one point, and took one look at it and said she was the most fascinating person, as if she was the bitch goddess of the upper kingdom or something, really.
Was this Bill or Tommy?
Yes.
Oh, Bill. And
so the more I worked on it, and the more it stayed in this strong black and white kind of family, the happier I was. And I felt that it had this iconographic kind of feeling to it. So slowly we slowed down with my sister, for whom I had been doing a lot of work. She liked it very much, and my brother and his wife liked it. So,
well, I really like it. I think it's maybe maybe the favorite of all your things that I'm aware of, and thanks for talking to me about it. I'm a little bit over my time limit, and I appreciate you enduring the crowded house with barking dogs and everyone on the phone.
just like home.
Yeah, yeah. only Christmas Eve here, but at least we had the family together tonight. So,
Right.
well, thanks again, Robin.
Okay.
Right.